Evening, everyone. Sorry about the couple minute delay. Tonight we are obviously remote due to weather conditions. I would like to call to order the meeting for Monday, January 20th, 2025. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case. Mrs. Denny.
Here.
Mr. Hart.
Here.
Mrs. Casper.
Here.
Dr. Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. McCray.
Here.
Mr. McCree.
Here.
Mr. Schneider.
Here.
Mrs. Cocker.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Please stand for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first this evening, we have a communication piece on the high school program of studies. So I'm going to hand that over to, I believe, Dr. Cachufo. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I will get started here. I have a slide deck to share with all of you. And then I do want to show you the actual program of studies document. Are you all able to see the screen? Okay, great. So first things first, our program of studies is based on the profile of a Wilson graduate, really focuses on those skills and dispositions, and it's given us a true north to focus on when we're adding classes or revising different courses in the program now and moving forward. So it's given us and our teachers and our principals an opportunity to really have a focus on these skills and dispositions, not just to make kids college ready, but also to make them career ready as well. So what is the program of studies? The program of studies, the program of studies contains information regarding the graduation requirements, options and processes available to students as they navigate through high school. And it provides students and parents with information about those pathways in the different content areas, different disciplines. It also describes what the course selection process is, and it really is a one-stop shop for all of the course offerings in each subject. A lot of questions that people have about our high school and the programming that we have are answered in the program of studies. Every year, we start the development of the program of studies starts with our high school, our leadership team at the high school, and our lead learners and teachers as they start to talk about what courses were not very well, they weren't very popular for one reason or another outside of the mandated courses that they have to take. And then we start to look at what courses should be eliminated from the program of studies for the next year, what courses could be added based on student and teacher interest, and they have to put in proposals for those courses that they would like added at their department level. The lead learners then review those proposals. Then the process is it goes to the high school administration and then to the Office of Teaching and Learning. And we have a lot of deep conversations about these courses. What would be where it would fall in the pathways for each content area, what skills and dispositions would it give our kids moving forward after graduation, and really focused on the needs of students and helping them to get into a situation where their path is unique to them in many, many cases as well. The program of studies was also presented at the last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting, and this process is that it goes through the committee, and now it's at the board level for approval as well. So there are a couple new courses and adaptations for this year. One of them is we have, I think it's about 6 or 7 of them. The first one being earned honors credit in band, chorus, and orchestra. And that's an opportunity for an 11th or 12th grader to get weighting above the regular band course orchestra block. And it gives students an opportunity to prepare and perform what they would do for counties, districts, and state level competitions. Those performances are really dictated by the instructor of the class, and they could be auditions, or if they are writing music or something like that, those pieces are all pieces that could give a student the earned credit, their earned honors credit. A Journey Through Art is obviously an art class. It was offered as a semester class, and now it will be a year-long class. So it's going from a 0.5 credit to a 1 credit course for a choice for 9th and 10th graders. The course is going to focus on 2-dimensional art in the first semester and then 3-dimensional art in the second semester. These next two courses are the JROTC cybersecurity courses, CompTIA A+ certification, and CompTIA Network Plus certification. I think a lot of us know, as we've had the cybersecurity team, our cybersecurity team of students, come to the board for a presentation on how they have done in their competitions. This is a natural offshoot to build these courses that will give these students industry standard pieces as they move on to whatever their next level is, moving forward in their careers, and even into college and workplace or life after that. A lot of it comes down to these courses are going to focus a lot on problem solving, obviously coding with Python programming. And one of the things that really spurred us to do this was the fact that our cybersecurity competition club has done so well. And a brief piece about that is our cybersecurity club competed in a competition, and we thought that they were going down and competing against other high schools. They actually were competing against people in the workforce right now. There were 80 teams, and our team finished 8th out of 80 that were not just high school kids. They were actually people working for places such as Microsoft and those organizations. So we are being very successful, and this now gives them an opportunity to really hone their skills. It's also going to give them the certifications that they can come out of high school and be employable in the cybersecurity world. Pre-algebra was traditionally a special education course, and now we're going to move it to make it a course that is available for students prior to them taking Algebra 1. So this is for any 8th grader, 9th grader, or any move-ins that come into our district that might not have the background to be successful in Algebra 1. We are going to be phasing out Algebra 1A and 1B. For next year, 25-26, we will be running Algebra 1B because we had students take 1A this year. Then the other piece is the dual enrollment assistant internship for 1 credit. Right now, students can take the dual enrollment teaching assistant internship for 2 credits. But what we were finding is it doesn't fit into all of our students' schedules because they do like to have full loads of scheduling with their courses. So we did opt to make this a 1 credit option as well. Adaptive Music is our music department developing a course for special education students to complement the adaptive physical education and adaptive art class as well. We do have a couple name changes for 2 courses as well. The Chef's course is becoming the Food and Industry Fundamentals course. After a year of running the Chef's course, our instructor and our FCS lead learner felt that the title of Food and Industry Fundamentals matched the content of the course better. The other piece of this that's really important is it offers the Serve Save certification. So students can actually start to work in the field with that Serve Safe certification. In the restaurant business, that is the moniker that you need to have before you can actually step foot into a kitchen and actually do some of those pieces of work. CP and Virtual America and the World is going to change to College Preparatory Virtual and CP and Virtual World Cultures. It's a better representation of the course to identify less focus on the impact of culture and more on the education of different government cultures as a foundation. There are a couple courses that there just wasn't interest in moving forward over the past few years. Honors Tech internship, and I did explain the Algebra 1A, 1B. Business Ethics and Communication hasn't run in a couple years. The CP Research, Introduction to Data Science, Introduction to Project Management, CP Macro, CP Algebra 2B, the CP Mathematical Logic and Problem Solving, and Art Murals A and B. Most of these courses are being dropped because of the low interest from our students. Some of them have not run in a long time. Some of them are a structural shift, such as the Algebra 1A. So one of the things that we have been working on is our 9th grade experience for students. And with that, when we looked at the courses that were being offered to our 9th graders, we felt we had to limit the choices that they have in 8th grade to really focus on their experience moving forward, that they have a very solid foundation. So we did take some of the courses away that 9th graders can opt to take, such as the Physics of Astronomy, Anatomy and Phys, Bootcamp Fitness, CPR and AED certification, International Business, Microsoft Office Specialist, Accounting 1, Drawing 1, Painting 1, AP Human Geography, History of Sports and Society, Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, and Modern Combat. This doesn't mean that there aren't offerings that our 9th graders still have. We still have a very robust offering for our 9th grade students moving forward. We just wanted to give them a very solid foundation as they transition from middle school to 9th grade. As we all know, the transition points in our school district, we need to make sure are very tight, so we have solid transitions for our students so they can remain successful in our system and matriculate through past 12th grade. And that solid foundation really starts with the offerings that we're going to be giving them in 9th grade. One of the new things for this school year that we were very excited to have happen, and this is where we actually included some of our students in the work. Some of our public relations interns took these course flow charts that we have and really uniformed them so they all look the same. And really what we wanted to do with the course flow is so parents and students have a great understanding of what this looks like from 9th grade to 12th grade with the content areas across the high school, that kids can see where they are and the path that they would have to get to based on their interest moving forward. I do have an example of one of these. This is the English one. They all have the same template. We're finalizing 2 of them for the program of studies, but they all do have the same template and they are all hyperlinked in the program as well. I just pulled up the English one, and it talks about the graduation pathway and what students have to do to
Dr. Cachufo, you
Yes.
have to, I think, share this a different.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank
That's okay.
you. Yep. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I get really excited about this kind of stuff, so I apologize. The course offerings focus first on the graduation pathway, and then underneath it, we do have the post-secondary pathway. So if students really want to go into an English post-secondary pathway, there are options that they would be able to use to take that piece as well. This is there for every single content area. Our lead learners worked with our high school administration and the teaching and learning office to put these together. And then we gave it to our public relations department, and the interns in the public relations department, in my mind, really knocked it out of the park with the way these look and the actual synchronicity of these documents. So just briefly, we have not changed the credits required to graduate. 4 for English, social studies is 3, math is 3, science is 3, physical education is half a credit, health is half a credit, and then electives are 7. And that is the slide deck for the program of studies. I do want to take a moment, and I know it is linked in the board agenda, but I do want to share this program of studies with you, because one of the things is I've worked in a couple different districts, and I can honestly say that the product that our high school puts out with the program of studies is not not only all comprehensive, but it is also a document that others around the county are looking at and saying, how do you guys put something like that together? So a lot of credit needs to go to our leadership team at the high school, as they have made this a very, very tight document. It answers probably about 90% of the questions that all students and parents would have. Our counselors are very knowledgeable about pretty much everything in this document as well. And it really does hit home as to what we have, what the expectation is for our students, our parents, our teachers, and our leadership team moving forward. And it's just a document that I feel our high school team should be very proud of. They did put a lot of work into this document as usual. And let me see if I can grab this and put it up. So. Okay. There we go. So for those of you who don't have a student in high school, this is the document, as I said before, that really is the end-all be-all of what the high school program is. As you can see, all the pictures have been updated this year, which is something that we have been working on. But besides the pictures, the information in this document is very comprehensive for all of our students. Just a couple things to share with all of you. The vision and the goals. Again, it has our grad requirements, the amount of credits, our dual enrollment pieces. I'm going to skip down to a couple of the new items. If you look on page 30, that is where the workflow, the flow charts for each area are. They are hyperlinked here. This document, after it is approved by the board, will go on the website, on the high school website, and these these flow chart documents are also linked to each department as well. So, does anybody have any questions?
I just have a question and a comment that I wanted to make. First, the comment. Thank you so much for all the work that you put into this all year long, and it really is a wonderful process. Having a high schooler myself, it really helps us plan and work out our pathway toward college. The only thing that I was wondering is how much feedback do we get from our alumni in terms of how prepared they are for the career path that they chose. I'm just wondering how much, just from speaking from someone who teaches in higher education, I know how excellent our academic preparation is for our students. When I have a Wilson student before me in class, I can tell. They are academically prepared. And I'm just wondering how much feedback we get from students who have entered into a particular career based on their preparation here. If they, if we can get more information about, what worked, maybe what didn't work, what could use some improvement, that kind of thing.
So, and any of our team, please jump in if I miss something. I do know that we do solicit input, but we can always take more input on those pieces, because usually people who answer our questions are ones that they have had either a really great experience or a not so great experience. We really need to find all of our graduates, all of our alums, to really reach out and give us some feedback to make our system better for our kids.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. I just kind of wanted to jump on what Dr. Cachufo said right there, in that we do invite our alum back on numerous occasions, and they have opportunities to actually talk to our high schoolers at various times, as well as meeting with us as a district leadership team. So we think we have some handle on that, but of course we could always do better and give greater consideration to getting that feedback from them. But thanks for the suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that.
Well, and Dr. Cachufo, I would just like to comment on the flow charts, because I'm new to the teaching and learning committee, and it was a great meeting. And you did kind of present this then, but also showed the flow charts of what they used to look like. Huge difference. I mean, there was no consistency. Some were, it looked like, I mean, for example, like the art flow chart was colorful and it was, visually appealing, but it wasn't as professional necessarily as what the new product is. So kudos to our interns for making they're beautiful, very professional. And I mean, just to remind everybody that those are made by high school students, I don't think I could accomplish that. So it's very impressive. And I think it is, the consistency is definitely is in line with the other, the level of product that you've shown us tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. It's always great when you can use the ones that it's going to affect to help build something, and it's awesome to be able to do that, and really our interns' capabilities, and I think Mrs. Troutman could speak to this. They are just phenomenal. They're phenomenal people, but they're also such hard workers. There was a lot of work that went into all of this. There are still, I believe, 1 or 2 workflows or flow charts that they're finalizing. And I'll give a perfect example. The science flow chart has a lot to it. So it's very difficult to get the formatting there, but I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to figure that one out very quickly.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Cachufo, for your presentation. Any other contributions or questions for Dr. Cachufo? Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate it. And just really quick, before we move into the next communication piece, I would like to highlight the fact that today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I thought in our role in the educational field, a really important quote, which I actually think kind of reinforces our program of studies, from an article, a 1947 article labeled "The Purpose of Education," from the Morehouse College student newspaper. A really kind of key quote from Dr. Martin Luther King: "Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education." And I think that Wilson does a really good job of striving for that, and balancing our student experience and what we hope our students will accomplish when they leave us. And just in Dr. Cachufo's presentation, we focus on the arts, the JROTC cybersecurity, our internships. It's just looking at the whole child and not just, drilling in on just one area. We're trying to give them a full experience so that we produce full human beings when they leave. So just wanted to focus on and draw attention to that fact for this evening. Okay, our next communication piece is the Act 34 booklet presentation. And I'm sorry.
Mr. Dowdy will be handling that for us this
I see
evening.
him. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't see him pop up.
Yep.
Mr. Dowdy, thank you. Sean, it's good to have you again. Sorry, in a different format, but it's still good to see you.
Thank you, President Cocker. It's great to see you all as well. Thank you for your flexibility with the weather. I trust that you have all received a digital copy of the Act 34 booklet. So you can use that and review that at your leisure over the next week or two. I'll also be dropping off some hard copies with the administration on Thursday, and they can distribute the hard copies to you as well. So today's presentation is going to be very brief. It might be the quickest presentation I've ever given you. It's just a really high level rundown of the Act 34 booklet that will ultimately be voted on by you probably at the next meeting, and then made available for public to view at your district admin office for a minimum 20-day period. So that'll lead us up to the March 3rd Act 34 hearing, which will be held at your boardroom. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And I trust that you can all see that.
Yes, we can.
Great. To really quickly go over the booklet. So this is obviously the cover page. It just explains the Act 34 hearing for the new Lincoln Park Elementary School will be held at the district admin office. Of course, we'll have a table of contents that goes over all this as well. But then the next page will be the hearing agenda. So this will tell the public exactly what will proceed on the Act 34 hearing date. It'll be led by Solicitor Moravich, and then Dr. Trickett, myself, your financial advisors with Raymond James and FSL will be involved as well. And then it gets opened up for public comment. Page 3 is the introduction to the project and the need for what we are doing in this Act 34 hearing. So it affirms that it is in compliance with the Act 34 of 1973, which requires this. And then it describes the purpose of the hearing in 5 points or purposes that it seeks to achieve. Page 4 is the project need. It very briefly describes the school district. It explains the current student enrollment impact on the capacity of your existing elementary buildings, which is important because this is specifically for a new elementary school. Explains the district's efforts for the facility study that was published in 2021, where we had 9 or 10 options for construction effort or construction possibilities that you might take on. Of course, we did ultimately land on one of those options that is outlined in this booklet. It finally establishes the need for the project to meet the district's educational program. Pages 5 and 6 are a summary of the district's owned properties, previous construction activity, and the current and planned grade levels and capacities. Now, obviously, with the selected option that we went with from the facility study, there is no change to the grade level alignments in your buildings. So everything that is current will remain the same alignments, which you can see summarized there. Then we go into the options that were considered from that study. It summarizes all of the options and then identifies option 5B as the selected option, which led to this project specifically. Okay, page 10, we get into the project description. It very briefly describes the site that the project will be located on, describes what the building will be composed of, and it kind of high level gets into the project scope. Talks about some building systems, building codes that are applicable to the project. And then after that, on pages 11 through 14, we start showing some images. The first one being the overall site plan, followed by the proposed first floor plan, second floor plan, and the proposed exterior renderings. These are all images that I've been sharing with you kind of along the way up until this point. Pages 15 through 18 are where we start getting into the PlanCon documents. So what these are basically snapshots of the PlanCon Part D forms that are applicable for the Act 34 compliance. So Form DO2 is on page 15, and page 16 is Form DO3. DO3 is just a continuation of DO2. I will draw your attention to line I on DO3, which is the total project cost, $36,500,000. $712,162. So these forms are outlining all of the project accounting based on the estimates that I've been sharing with you up to this point. Oops, sorry. Form DO4 is a detailed cost breakout, largely talking about the site work and the cost for the site work. And then Form D20 is the maximum building construction cost that I've been talking about. So with the PlanCon Part D forms, it basically takes all of those numbers that I've been presenting in the estimated budgets that we've shared up to this point and kind of restructures them into the PlanCon forms and then shakes them out a little bit differently to arrive at the maximum building construction cost. So you'll recall I shared that maximum building construction cost with you at the last meeting, and that is on line C on PlanCon D20, also page 18 in this booklet. So that's $28,105,264. So between that total project cost and this Act 34 maximum building construction cost, those are the numbers that are part of your resolution that you'll be taking up this evening. The analysis of the financing alternatives are on pages 19 and 20. That was prepared by Raymond James. We do have Scott from Raymond James on, as well as Michael Vind from FSL, and they can take any questions regarding this if you have any. But I believe for the most part, they're listening in just if needed tonight. Page 22 is the estimate. I'm sorry, page 21 is the debt service and millage impact, also prepared by Raymond James. And then in coordination between your financial advisors and then your business office, as well as from our end, page 22 has the estimated indirect costs that could reasonably be assumed to be incurred by the school district as a result of having this additional facility to operate. Okay, and then page 23 is the board resolution. This is the resolution that you are taking up tonight. So it lists the $28,105,264 as your Act 34 maximum building construction cost, as well as that maximum project cost. So the difference between them is around $8,400,000 and change, and that's stuff. Those are items that do not apply to the maximum building cost, including site work, soft costs, cost for financing, contingency. So that will be your resolution for tonight. And then the final page of the booklet is the public hearing notice. So this is the notice or ad that will go into the newspaper after you approve the booklet at your next meeting. And that's it.
Thank you.
Any
Mr.
questions?
Yes, any questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Dowdy, for all of your work on that. Just putting the form together, the booklet together, and we appreciate your work and look forward to the actual. Was it March 3rd? Correct.
March 3rd will be the Act 34 hearing. The format of that will actually take a similar format to what I just did, but in more detail for the public to understand in a little bit more detail everything that is contained in the booklet. We won't be reading every last word of the booklet by any means to them, but it will go into more detail, but following a similar format to tonight. The resolution, President Cocker, After you have that roll call vote, you will sign that, and then Laura will attest to it, and then that will become part of this booklet.
Great. Thank you very much for your explanation of the Act 34 booklet, and we appreciate your time being here tonight.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Moravich, do you have any solicitor announcements?
I do not.
Okay. And Mrs. Burkholder, do we have any public participation this evening?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. The board did meet in executive session prior to tonight's meeting virtually as well to discuss personnel matters. Moving on to the approval of minutes. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on December 16th, 2024. Thank you, Mrs. Denny. Do we have a second?
Schneider.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. On to committee reports. Now, before I start the committee reports, this has been a change in the new year. Board leadership and Dr. Trickett have discussed having our committee reports in the beginning of the meeting, because oftentimes we found that when there is a committee chair at the end for giving the report, that oftentimes they'll say, oh, well, we already voted on this issue or this item, but this is what we discussed in our committee. So to having a little more background information and the committee reports prior to any items that might be voted on, we thought would be helpful. So we're going to try this out. And we've moved Ms. Isabel Negrini to the front because that's why we're here. So student outreach, student highlighting our student activities and achievements. We would like you to start us off. So this evening, Ms. Isabel Negrini.
Thank you so much, President Cocker. I first wanted to just recognize again, as you previously stated, that this is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I really hope everyone had a wonderful holiday to recognize such an incredible man. I first wanted to start off by congratulating Cornwall Terrace Student Council, who made an incredible effort of donating hundreds of canned food items and who collected over $857 for the Helping Harvest Food Bank, which I think is incredibly amazing, especially because these are elementary schoolers. Additionally, Alvernia University hosted the Wilson Middle School Career Fair for our 8th grade students to explore what they want to pursue after graduation. So this was a really fun and exciting way to give 8th graders the opportunity to explore post-graduation fields. Under Wilson leadership and academics, I wanted to congratulate the recently formed Wilson High School Cybersecurity Club, who had recently earned an invitation to the incredibly prestigious SANS Cyber Tournament of Champions held in Washington, D.C. Also, during winter break, members of our community came together to support Helping Harvest, similarly to Cornwall Terrace Student Council, by packaging food supplies for senior citizens living in both Berks and Schuylkill counties. That also includes our very own Steph Cucker and Jennifer Denny. So thank you for contributing to such a wonderful cause. 2 weeks ago, students from Mrs. Castiglione's chef course class here at the high school had the very exciting and new opportunity to cater at an event held by the Centro Hispanic Center. And I also wanted to congratulate Wilson High School's Science Olympiad team for placing 3rd place at the Berks County Science Olympiad competition held at Kutztown University. Under Wilson Athletics, we have a lot revolving around the Unified Club and Bocce Ball team, which is really exciting. The Wilson Unified Club and boys basketball team recently held a sensory-friendly basketball game, which was designed to be inclusive towards all students. Additionally, 2 weeks ago, Wilson hosted their first ever unified bocce ball match against Muhlenberg, which went very well. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize these amazing kids. I have the opportunity to work in the classroom with many of these wonderful students, and not only are they incredible athletes and incredible, students, but they're also great people. So I think this is amazing that Wilson is just continuing to be inclusive towards all different kinds of students. Also, I wanted to congratulate the boys and girls swim teams who still remain undefeated in the winter sports season. Under the arts department, led by music teacher Mrs. Clark, Southern Middle School students competed in a December mini tour around the community in an orchestral group called the Southern Sinfonietta. And these students range from ages 6th to 8th grade, and they displayed impeccable musicianship through their performances. And lastly, I wanted to congratulate 4 high school students, Kevin Ding, Sindora Sridhar, Abby Underwood, and Penn Halford, for their amazing performances at the PMEA District 10 Orchestra. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for Ms. Negrini. Report. Amazing accomplishments as always from our students. On to teaching and learning, Dr. Kennedy.
Yes, thank you. We had a teaching and learning meeting last Wednesday. We talked a bit about the Elementary Reading Olympics, and the coaches are going to receive a stipend as long as it's approved by the board to coach the Reading Olympics, because it does take a whole lot of time to do that. And thank you to the Wilson Education Foundation for donating extra copies of the Reading Olympics books for each of our elementary schools. Something that's really going to be a lot of fun is that Heinemann and the Reading Writing Project at Mossflower will be using some of our students and teachers for pictures in their next textbooks that they're going to have, which I think is really, really going to be a lot of fun. So I look forward to seeing them and seeing our students in print. Our middle school update is there's going to be an 8th grade Life Ready course, hopefully. And we're hoping that it's going to be one of the quints that each of our 8th graders will have, and its purpose will be to get the students' life, career, and college ready, and it will hook in with our profile of a Wilson graduate. Most of the meeting was spent, what we talked about tonight was the discussion of the high school program of studies, which again is, I said at the meeting, it's prettier than what we give the kids at college. And really, we give as many, almost as many electives as some of our smaller colleges do. So congratulations on the high school team for putting that together. There's some professional learning days coming up. Unfortunately, our day today got canceled. We were supposed to have our day of service. Hopefully, we'll be able to figure that out for next year. On February 14th, there'll be Wilson Professional Learning Pathways. On January 16th, one of the core sessions for that in-service was effective strategies for managing challenging student behavior, which is always helpful for our teachers. And as you'll see on the agenda, Wilson is going to contract again with the Brandywine Virtual Academy for those courses for our online Wilson Academy that our own staff does not do. Our ultimate goal is that we would be able to staff that completely with Wilson teachers, but we're not quite there yet. Also, the Elmwood Park Traveling Zoo is going to be coming to Green Valley, and our next meeting is going to be February 26th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. On to public relations, Mrs. Troutman.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I would just first like to expand a little bit on what Ms. Negrini reported on the Wilson Middle School Career Fair. It was an overwhelming success. Over 550 8th grade students had the opportunity to hear from over 70 professionals about the many different career opportunities available to them. Once again, we're super proud that we had a great mix of professions represented, from trades to construction, medical, finance, and so much more. Our kids got exposure to all different types of opportunities. But I just want to take a moment to really thank Alvernia University for once again hosting us in their beautiful facility. And we'd like to thank everyone who had a role in making the career fair a success. I want to shout out the middle school counseling team for their leadership of this event. And I also wanted to give a shout out to our operations team. They actually transported and set up all of the tables and chairs for the fair at Alvernia, came over the day before, set everything up. And then the second it was over, they were there in full force cleaning it up. It was just a great partnership and just a wonderful day. It's a proud day to be a Bulldog for the career fair. Also, we'd like to recognize the 2025 Spelling Bee competition that happened last Friday. Each of our middle schools hosted a grade level competition, and the winners competed in a school-specific spelling bee to determine the winners. So we want to congratulate this year's winners, Zoe Zaborowski from Southern and Jaden Bias from West. Both of these students will advance to the semifinal online round. And we really want to thank Beth Folk, who coordinates this event every year for our students. Without Beth's leadership, this event would not be possible. So we just want to be sure to recognize her for all of her outstanding efforts. And then finally, each year, our Whitfield students participate in the Hour of Code global movement that challenges students to work on computer programming skills. And this year's event was a great day where students, staff, and community members came together to program and learn about computer science. And I want to thank Whitfield Discovery teacher Matt Durr, who leads this amazing event each and every year. So I just think the theme is that we've got just an amazing group of teachers, community members, staff members who just come together to create amazing opportunities for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Any additional board member appointments? So BCIU, BCTC, legislative. I know Mr. Casey's not here this evening for the Wilson Education Foundation, but any other reports that anybody would like to share? Yes, Dr. Kennedy.
Yes, there was a BCIU meeting last Thursday. It was very long, but oddly very short public meeting. We had a very, very long the session where executive, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Executive session. So we had a very truncated actual board meeting. The most exciting thing that happened at the board meeting was one of my favorite things about being on the board is getting to see they commissioned 18 pieces of art, one from each school district. Our Wilson School District art was made by Kaylin Rowe, and it's a beautiful piece of work. And I'm super proud to, when I get it up to the board meeting, to be able to see it hanging up, which is always nice. They do a really nice slide deck too, so you get to see all of the different art pieces kind of close and on your computer. The other major thing that at the BCIU board meeting was the general fund budget was approved. We will be doing the mandated services portion of that budget at some point in mid-April. But we did get to hear a lot of good plans for what's going to be going on in the BCIU, and I hope to be able to share them really soon. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy, for your report. Any other appointment reports? Mrs. Schlossman.
President Cocker, I have a report. Can you hear me? My internet is kind of going in and out.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Right.
The Berks Tax Collection Committee met on December 19th. We looked at tax distributions to school districts and municipalities for the calendar year 2024, and those increased over the prior year. Earned income tax distributions were higher by $9.5 million over the prior year, or 5.4%. Local services tax distributions were higher by $100,000 or 1.5%. Our delinquent employer EIT prosecution continues. $1.3 million identified, and 80% of that has been collected. Officers were elected for the calendar year 2025. All the incumbents ran unopposed. I am the chairperson. Wayne Garris, representing Reading School District, is the vice chairperson. Trey Bingaman, representing Amity Township, is the treasurer, and Rosemary Lemestre, representing Brandywine Heights, is the secretary. We approved the calendar year 2025 operating budget with budget expenditures totaling $2 million, or a 4.5% increase over the prior year. And we will have quarterly meetings in 2025 in March, June, September, and December. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schlossman, and congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. Okay, any other appointment reports? Okay, I don't see any. It's going to be a little different when we're in person, but if we move on and have to go back, just let me know. Okay, moving on to Treasurer's Report, Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion to approve the Treasurer's Report, Investment Report, General Capital Funds, Financial Reports as attached.
Thank you. We have a motion for 4.1. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, I see your hand. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. On to payment of bills, Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion to approve the payment of bills specifically from the general fund, $9,086,792.46. From capital reserve, $225. From the 2021 seed construction fund, $121,626.06. And from the 2024 construction fund, $127,566.44.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion for 5.1. Mr. McCree, I see that we have a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
So I wanted to let you know, because we weren't in person, Mr. Hart and Mrs. Casper have to abstain actually during this vote.
Okay, I will abstain then. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mrs. Casper,
Abstain.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
6 yes, 2 abstain.
And on to financial reports, Mr. McCray.
Motion to approve the financial reports for the month of December 2024, specifically the cafeteria and childcare funds, along with the activity counts at Southern Middle School, West Middle School, and the senior high as presented.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. I see Mr. McCree has a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
On to the superintendent's report, Dr. Trickett.
Thank you, President Cocker. Before I jump into my report, I would just like to take a couple of moments to celebrate all of our board members. January is historically Board Member Recognition Month. And again, it's a little bit different because we're online. So we'll have some treats for you at our next meeting in the first week of February. However, in doing so and recognizing our board members, I thought I'd just take a couple of moments, quick moments, to explain maybe some behind the scene things that board members do that maybe many of our community members and teachers and students, quite frankly, just maybe don't see in the limelight of the board meetings, if you will. So everyone knows that board members, are elected officials created to really set the direction for the school district. In doing so, they create policy and that kind of governs the work that we do as administrators in our leadership and support of our kids. They understand, I'm sure, that board members go to a variety of meetings. We spend a lot of time in these public board meetings discussing committee reports or appointment of reports, as Dr. Kennedy just presented on two tonight. So I think we all understand that they're involved and engaged in a variety of different leadership groups across not only Wilson, but also across Berks County. One thing I think that perhaps often isn't celebrated or acknowledged as much is just their role in advocacy and advocating for kids. All board members on this board, I can say without question, and I'm hopeful that board members across the Commonwealth are here really for one purpose, and it's really to positively impact the kids that we serve. It's not about us. It's not about adults. It's really not, about any of us other than the 6,500 kids that we serve. So that work happens in a lot of different ways, happens through emails, phone calls, visiting schools, talking to students, engaging in conversations. But I just want to thank publicly on behalf of the entire school district leadership team, our teachers, our students, our 9 board members for all the advocacy that you do and just your care and support and time that you put into this organization to make it the best possible organization it can be. So again, thank you for that. All right. So we're going to transition now into the superintendent's report. I'm just going to highlight a couple of the items under 7. We do have some retirements on the agenda. We have Cindy Cockrum, Kwan Kim, Elizabeth McKemmy, Bibba, otherwise known as Bibba, for those who didn't know her, and Ann Moan. All of these individuals have poured more than a decade of their lives and their energy and their passion into our kids. We're very thankful for their contributions and happy for them as they transition into the next stage of life and in some cases focusing more on their families. We have some resignations. We do have some unpaid leaves of absence, child rearing leave as well for Mrs. Osterberry. Some change of statuses, as well as some support staff, substitute and professional hires. I'm happy to report here, really at the mid-year mark, we're almost exactly at the mid-year of the semester mark, that we're bringing forward for the board's consideration for professional hires. If any of them are watching remotely, welcome to the Wilson School District. It's always nice to see you in person, but we'll be sure to build a strong relationship with you once you get onboarded. So Rachel Grassley, Carter Hunter, Anita Lewis, and Courtney Westman. And last but not least, Alyssa Williams will be presented tonight under 7.7. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. I don't always comment on when people retire, but I had the opportunity to work with 2 of the retirees, and they're amazing human beings, Cindy and Bibba, and our Wilson family is definitely losing a lot of experience and care in these 2 professionals, but I'm sure, that everyone that they've educated and the lives that they've touched, especially over the extensive years that they were with us, it's meaningful and we appreciate them and they'll be missed. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to my former Southern friends. Okay, so with that said, looking for a motion to approve superintendent's items 7.1 through 7.9 as presented. Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Okay, moving on to human resources. 8.1, request approval of an MOU between the district and the Wilson Education Association as attached. 8.2, request to approve the updated support staff compensation ranges as attached. Looking for a motion for human resources items 8.1 and 8.2.
Casper?
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second?
Hart.
Mr. Hart, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
And on to consent items. Looking to accept with gratitude the following donations from the Wilson Education Foundation, the purchase of 221 books for students participating in the 2025 Elementary Reading Olympics. The donation consists of 25 titles and 40 plus books for each elementary school. So this, just a side note, this I think is a benefit of having our reports before the voting item, because Dr. Kennedy has kind of already informed us that this was going to be an item and gave us a background. So looking to accept with gratitude, looking for a motion for 9.1.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. Schneider and Mrs. Denny tied. So I will have Mr. Schneider as our second. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. I have a student, a child in my home who is participating in the Elementary Reading Olympics. So this will be our last year in the Elementary Reading Olympics, which is kind of sad. But I also look forward to, I also enjoy every year kind of reading a couple of the books on the list, because they're picked for, a reason. They're great books and there's a wide variety. So maybe if my child isn't interested in some of the titles, I'm interested in some of the other, and just kind of gives you a taste for what kids are into this decade, really. And I just appreciate the WEF for making sure that all of our students have access to those books should they want to participate. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay. This is a voice vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to student services. 10.1, request permission to approve the adoption of a settlement agreement and release to establish an education fund to be held and managed by the district to settle and comprise all claims raised by the parents of a high school special education student. 10.2, request permission to approve the adoption of a release and waiver agreement with the Lancaster Lebanon IU 13 to settle and comprise all claims raised by the district against the LLIU number 13 related to a special education student. 10.3, request approval of a service agreement with Leslie Chandy to perform an independent evaluation, educational evaluation at a fee not to exceed $4,500 in accordance with board policy 113.3. 10.4, request approval for a service agreement with the Conrad Weiser School District to provide special education services to a student attending Wilson School District from January 2025 until the end of the school year, June 2025. 10.5, request approval of a resolution approving and adopting a student discipline waiver and consent agreement dated January 16th, 2025. 10.6, request approval of a subscription with Thomas Routers for Clear Proflex in the amount of $1,751.58 per month for a term of 36 months as presented. Looking for a motion to approve student service items 10.1 through 10.6. Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Okay, now this one I took a drink of water before because it is a long one. Everyone ready? Under operations, 11.1, request approval of the maximum building construction cost and maximum project cost listed below for the proposed new Lincoln Park Elementary School. 11.2, request approval for the complete resurfacing of the Upper House High School gymnasium floor by All American Athletics using the CoStar programs. 11.3, request approval to the contract with International Fireworks for the graduation ceremony for the class of 2025. 11.4, request approval of change order number 15 by E.R. Stubner for the high school auditorium addition renovation. 11.5, request approval of change order number 16 by E.R. Stubner for the high school auditorium addition renovation. 11.6, request approval of change order number 17 by E.R. Stubner for the high school auditorium addition renovation. 11.7, request approval of change order number 18 by ER Stubner for the high school auditorium renovation. 11.8, request approval of change order number 19 by ER Stubner for the high school auditorium addition and renovation. 11.9, request approval of a change order number 20 by ER Stubner for the high school auditorium addition renovation. 11.10, request approval for the reduction of retainage by 5% for J.R. Reynolds for high school auditorium addition renovation. 11.11, request approval of a change order number 1 by J.R. Reynolds for the high school auditorium addition renovation. 11.2, request approval of change order number 2 by J.R. Reynolds for the high school auditorium addition renovation. 11.3, request approval of change order number 3 by J.R. Reynolds for the high school auditorium addition renovation. 11.14, request approval of change order number 4 by J.R. Reynolds for the high school auditorium addition renovation. And 11.15, request approval of change order number 5 by J.R. Reynolds for the high school auditorium addition and renovation. Looking for a motion to approve operations items 11.1 through 11.15. Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion?
President Cocker, this is Sean from Crabtree again. 11.1 needs to be its own item, voted separately.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, so I'm not going to repeat all of the other items again, but let's just pull 11.1 out first for the motion. So we're going to redo our motion and second. So looking for motion just for 11.1. Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Okay, any discussion on 11.1? Thank you, Mr. Dowdy, for that clarification. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Hearing no conversation, roll call, please, on 11.1.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
And looking for a motion for 11.2 through 11.15. Mr. McCree first and Mrs. Denny second. Thank you. Any conversation? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. Under Finance, 12.1, request approval to adopt the calendar year 2025 mileage reimbursement rate of 70 cents per mile effective January 1st, 2025 in accordance with the IRS approved mileage reimbursement rate. 12.2, request approval to turn over all unpaid 2024 school real estate tax bills to the Berks County Tax Claim Bureau. 12.3, request approval to advertise bids for the 2025-26 school year per the attached bid schedule. And 12.4, request approval of the budget transfers dated December 6th, 2024 through January 15th, 2025 as attached. Looking for motion to approve finance items 12.1 through 12.4. Mr. McCree, thank you. Do we have a second?
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Teaching and Learning, 13.1, request approval of a contract with Chester County IU Brandywine Virtual Academy. 13.2, Request approval of the Wilson High School Program of Studies 2025, 2026. Not trying to skip a year. Looking for a motion to approve teaching and learning items 13.1, 13.2. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. And Mr. Schneider as a second. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
On to policies. This evening, we have a second reading of policies, which are not to be voted on. They are 317.1 and 336. These items, the policies will be voted on next meeting. And under 14.2, we do have a final reading and adoption of the following policies: 218.1 weapons, 218.2 terroristic threats, and 249 bullying and cyberbullying. These are necessary updates as we continue to review all policies as per PSBA policy guidelines. Looking for a motion to approve 14.1.
Casper.
Mrs. Denny, thank you, and Mrs. Casper, second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under miscellaneous, we have our enrollment report. As of January 17th, 2025, there are 6,494 students, which is a decrease of 8 from the previous report on December 11th. And just to double check, Mrs. Burkholder, do we have any public participation on non-agenda items?
There were no items.
Okay, thank you. Just double checking. Any other business from the board? Okay, hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Meeting is adjourned. Have a safe evening, everyone. Stay warm. Good night.
Good night.